server, its job is to talk to other computers. So it's got to be on, and the channels have to be open. Unlike your computer at home, which doesn't want to talk to anybody. Your computer has what's called a firewall around it, so people can't call up your computer and talk to it in the middle of the night, like they can call up my little Raspberry Pi and talk to it because it's a server. What I found, to my shock, was that 24 hours a day, there were people trying to hack into my server. And you could look at where they were coming from, and they were all coming from Singapore and Eastern Europe and China and places like that. It was like every few seconds somebody was trying to hack into this thing. And so I got to wonder, who are these people and what do they want from me? Well, why do they want to break into my little computer? It's not hurting anybody. And so I did a little research, and I found out who these people are, at least some of them. And by and large, they're usually pretty nice people, apparently. They're mostly male, they're mostly young, they're mostly smart, and they mostly live in third world countries. And they don't sit there like in the movies. They're not sitting there typing away, trying to break into some of these computers. What they do is they set up a program to do that, and then they get their computer to run it, and then all night long it will go and try and break into other computers at very fast speeds. And then they maybe have a whole room full of them that do this. And so they just set it up and mine the store. And these programs are out trying to hack into everybody's computer all night long. Now, once again, not yours. We'll get to yours. They also want into your computer. We'll talk about how they can do that. But first, let's talk about just general hacking and how that works. First of all, this is a pretty safe occupation for them. Nobody's going to throw them in jail. If the Chinese government finds you doing this, they're not going to throw you in jail. They're going to give you a job in the military. Like in most of these countries, if you're a hacker, they want that skill. They will reward you for that. So these guys are not in any. It's not like people who break into your house. Your house, by the way, is also not very secure when you think about it. Even if you put alarms up and everything, if anybody really wants into your house, let's face it, they're going to break into your house. If they think you have something worth stealing, they'll probably break into your house. There's not much you can do about it. In the same way, if somebody really wants into your computer, they'll break into your computer. Luckily, they don't know us, and they don't really want into our computers. They're just kind of randomly trying to get into everybody's computer. And so they're not, if they thought you had anything valuable, believe me, they'd be in. These are smart people, and there's always a way in. But you can catch people that try and break into your house. If somebody tries to break into your house, they run a real risk of getting put in jail. These guys, no risk at all. All they got to do is get a computer, learn how to program it to do this stuff, and they all talk to each other. They have chat rooms for hackers, and they train secrets. In fact, there's even a whole category of these people they call them script kiddies. And they don't really know how to do it themselves, but they copy things from these sites. So the teenage wannabe hackers will just copy a script, which is a bunch of computer code, and put it on their computer and run it. They don't even know what it does, but they can also break into your computer because they have the little scripts that do it. Sometimes these guys work for mafias. Some guy with a lot of money will set up a whole floor of computers and get one of these guys in to set it up to hack into other people's computers. So it's kind of a big business in a lot of these countries. So what they want, here's what they're trying to do. So one thing they'd really like is your credit card number. That would be useful to them. You can run a credit card pretty long before somebody catches on, usually, at least 24 hours or something. But these guys are not actually going to go use your credit card. They will sell your credit card number for about $10 is what the going price is. So in the morning, after they've been hacking people's computers all night, if they get 10 credit card numbers, that's $100. That goes pretty far in Singapore or something like that. If they get 1,000, that's doing pretty well, right? So they'll just sell the numbers for $10. You can buy credit card numbers. So for $100, you can buy 10 stolen credit cards, and probably you'll get pretty far with those before they get caught. You'll never get caught. You'll just wait until they stop working, and then you'll use the next one. Right? So credit card numbers are good. They can't always get your credit card number. I mean, how many of you actually leave your credit card lying on your computer, and the number just sitting there? It's not going to be that easy. So what they would also like to do is take over your computer. Put a program on there that lets them, first of all, monitor everything you do. This is called a key logger. And so if they can get this program on your computer, then anything you type will get sent in a file back to wherever these people are, and then they won't, of course, read it themselves. They have a program that looks through for credit card numbers or anything that looks like a credit card number. So they will automatically, anybody who types in a credit card number, they will get that once they put this little program on your computer. There are other things they can do with your computer also. There are things called botnets. Okay, a bot is a computer that someone else controls. You may not even know you have a bot. You may think your computer is running fine, but actually there's somebody else who can control it from someplace else. And if they get enough of these things, they can do fancy things with them called denial of service attacks. And so what you do is you get about 20,000 computers that are under your control. People owning them don't even know they're doing this. You don't want them to know, so you kind of lie low and just use their computer when you need to. And then you can blackmail companies. And this happens all the time. You contact the company and you say, pay me $10,000 or I will take down your website because I'll have 10,000 computers flooding your website so that nobody else can get there. It's like if you had a little restaurant and 200 people showed up and just sat there and didn't order anything, you can pretty much stop the restaurant from working. And so they can do this to any website they want to. And so people who are making a lot of money on their website would rather pay them than risk all the money they would lose if their website goes down for a couple of days. So that's a profitable thing to do. You can sell a computer. If you can get a credit card number, you can get about $10 for that. But if you just get control of somebody's computer, that's only worth about a quarter. You can sell that to somebody, control of your computer for about 25 cents, and you can become part of a botnet, and you won't even know that it happened. But you'll be useful to somebody. Another thing that is popular, that's starting to happen more, is if they take over your computer, let's see, what are these things called? This is called ransomware. Okay, so you take over somebody's computer, and then you'll turn on your computer and you'll see a message like this. I have taken over your computer, essentially what it says, all your files are going to be destroyed in 48 hours, unless you send me money. For $200 or something, I'll turn your computer back over to you, otherwise you're losing everything. And so your first impulse would be, well, I'm not going to pay the $200. But then you start thinking about it, all your photos, all the things you have on your computer, all your files, what if you lose those? Maybe it's worth $200 to you, right? So a lot of people will pay that to get their files back. Here's another one. Tries to make it look like the FBI. Of course, the FBI wouldn't do that to you. But that's a thing that can happen, and that happens to more people all the time now. That's one thing they'd like to do if they can get into your computer. So, how do they do it? How do they actually get it? We're not going to get into all the details, but I want you to get a general idea of how this works, because this is also how they're going to get into your computer if you're not careful. If I'm a hacker, what I need to do is I need to find some code on the computer that I'm hacking into that is badly written. And there are thousands and thousands and thousands of lines of code in any program. So your web browser has a whole lot of code. If somebody made a mistake when they were writing that code, that can let somebody in. And the way it lets it in, so let's say I go to the Acme Bank and I want to sign in. So that website has to talk to me. It's a server. It's not going to refuse to talk to me. So I put in my name, and then I put in my password. And instead of a password, I put in computer code. Now, any even moderately responsible code writer would not take that thing that I put in and run the code. But there are ways that are like that, where you can trick a program into not just taking your input as a password or whatever you put in, but you can make it actually run what you told it to do. So those are commands, and these with the commands are really, give me all your customers' passwords. And if they can get that program to run that code, then they get all the passwords. It's not that simple. It's a little bit, like I say, there are thousands and thousands of lines of code, but they're always finding one little problem, one little flaw that they can take advantage of. if you feed the right information to that computer you're talking to in the right way, you can trick it into doing what you want it to do. But only if the